even with you, besides like the very little that I knew of you, like when you were like when Cynthia Horner was covering you in Ride On magazine and stuff like that, like there's really, a lot of my
And Theo
heroes.
and me, don't forget about Theo and
Oh,
me.
word.
Come on. I had to pull out the whole pull-out poster.
Exactly. Like for me,
so...
like there's just not much in-depth information that that you get to find out about. So, but when did you first realize, like, coming? I'm assuming that you came to the base later in life. Like, how old were you when you first like decided I'm going to try this?
I was 26.
That, I know that has to be intimidating. Like, how long was it before you picked it up, and how many years did you give yourself to really master it?
So the whole reason I started playing bass was because I was working on Malcolm and Eddie,
right?
And I was miserable.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I was miserable on that show.
Is this after the Michelle period, or?
No, it was Michelle was during that period, but
Okay.
it was because I had spent 8 years, at NBC in an environment that Mr. Cosby made everyone ultra aware of the images of people of color we were putting on the airwaves, right? Mm-hmm. So 8 years of that, then I go to UPN, and it was like having gone to a top university and then being stuck in fucking junior college.
Junior college, yeah.
Homeboys are out of space.
Man, right.
Yeah, but Malcolm and Eddie was not Homeboys in Outer Space, or the Butler guy.
But here's the thing, though.
Secret Diary of Desmond, whatever.
Yeah, Pfeiffer.
There was a lot of work that I put into. There's a lot of blood, literal tears, literal sweat I put into that show, because I came from, even though I knew what UPN's programming was, I was like, okay, well, they've seen me, for 8 years be a part of a show that made history without relying on stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
So my thinking was, okay, well, that's what they want here. I've watched Mr. Cosby run that show for 8 years. I know that, the stereotypical things you didn't see on the show was not because the writers were not writing it. It was because Mr. Cosby was saying, no, that's not the show we're doing. Mm-hmm. That's not who the Huxtables are. That's the drive-by mentality you have when you're writing Black comedy. That doesn't belong on the show. So literally, I watched him for 8 years, shutting down writers, making them go back to square one and rewrite the script that's not based on stereotypes, right? So all that, I get to UPN like, okay, well, they know how this goes, and realize that, one, I was not Bill Cosby. We were not doing right. Bill Cosby numbers. So I would come to work every day fighting writers, producers, directors, studio, network, fellow actor, viewing public, because there was a certain standard that I wanted to continue.
Yeah, to uphold. Yeah.
Uphold. And UPN's whole marketing thing was the antithesis of what I had come from. So
I'm curious.
So, yeah.
What did the writers' room look like?
Was it
back between 90?
Okay.
The writers' room.
Yeah.
No,
the writers.
That's new. I like that.
Yeah, but what did it look like?
Not much different. It was mostly white writers. On Cosby, I don't think we ever had more than 3 Black writers on staff at the time. On Gas Cosby.
How many writers are normally in the room?
Oof. They could be 8, 10.
So typical sitcom will have 8 to 10 writers.
Yeah.
And a showrunner.
Yeah.
And they pick. Okay, I get it.
So Malcolm and Eddie was the same kind of dynamic. We may have had 4 writers at one time. But I mean, so it was just an environment where I was just miserable.
Right.
And I was looking for a hobby, something that I wouldn't turn into a career. So the directing started out as a hobby. And that State of Shock video you were talking about was actually, that was really my entree in, let me really see what this directing thing is all about. Because the first 2 years of the show, when we would do this Cosby Kids tour, me and Lisa would always talk about, we want to be triple threats. We want to write, act, and direct, and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Like after 2.5 years of saying that, I was like, let me see if that's something I even want to do, something I even can do. So that State of Shock video, I laugh because that was literally my first directing, my first attempt at directing.
And then you did On the Magnificent, and you also did Any Heartbreak.
Any Heartbreak,
yeah.
So Brian, what was that? Brian, what I remember, y'all were in the video. They showed the behind the scenes of Any Heartbreak. I was like, and it was you, and it was impressive because it was also the actor from Head of the Class who was became a director.
Brian Robbins. Yeah. So the directing started as a hobby, became a career. So by the time I was on Malcolm and Eddie, I was like, okay, I need a hobby, something that's not acting, not directing, something that will never become a career. I've always wanted to play music. I'll never be, so if I just practice scales to a metronome in my dressing room, that would keep me from caring as much about the show and putting so much of myself into the show that's not loving me back in the way that I would like. Let me just practice scales to a metronome. That would kind of put me in a zoning kind of place. I'll never be one of those corny actor dudes who try to do music. I'll never start a band, right? I'll never record a CD. I'll just do this. Right. And then it became it became a whole other thing. Because like really, who gets off from practicing scales to a metronome in their dressing room in between scenes? Right?
The pivot is real, man.